Khalid Ajmain.
Assalamualaikum everyone, peace be upon you. Welcome to another podcast series with Real Talk with Khalid Ajmain. Alhamdulillah. So today I have two blessed guests with me, my beautiful friends, and they are volunteers at Sout Ilaahi, and I know them more than volunteers actually. They became my friends along the journey, inspire me to be a better person each day, and they all have their own uniqueness. On my right is Sister Kismet, amazing sister, have done a lot for Sout Ilaahi and also have an interesting background as a musician. Alhamdulillah. And on my left, we have none other than Mr. Poet, Mr. Fitness, I always call him, inshallah, Herzy, you can check him out. He has a lot of good poetry, reading all the time with beautiful words. So today we're going to talk about something that relates to everyone. Am I good enough for Allah? Since we are still in the month of Rajab, and may Allah make us reach Sha'ban and Ramadan, Amin, inshallah. So there is always question about how good we are or how we should be when it comes to Ramadan, what are the steps that we need to take and how we should be. So today I would like to ask these two people that I find them inspiring in my life, because we always look at certain types of people to be awe at, admire, but we don't realize that there are people who among us who have certain good qualities, and even their struggle is able to inspire us. So I would like to start with maybe Kismet lah. Kismet first lah. Okay, ladies first. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies first. So Kismet, right, from where you are, from where you were before, in right English word, right, were. There's the key word, were, before, and to where you are now. You were playing music, and then now suddenly you are at Sout Ilaahi, doing things that is opposite. How do we see it gradually grow in your own personal capacity?
The gradual growth.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, because maybe 20 years ago, I wouldn't even think that I would be part of a religious organization. So I think my life definitely took a sharp turn of change, and it's by Allah's will. But I am thankful for this because with it comes pain lah. I mean, like everyone hits rock bottom and then they find God, right? So that's exactly what happened, and it is only then when you are really down and you just realize that there's no one else to help you except your Creator Himself, right? And then when you turn it to Him and you be honest with yourself about what you've been doing for the last probably 20 years of your life and where you want to head through, like in the next 20 years of your life. So I think that was the point where I started to see things more than just for the surface. And alhamdulillah, when I joined Sout Ilaahi, I managed to get to explore myself through Sout Ilaahi, through volunteering, and that's where I truly found myself. I think through the companionship, with the founders, Khalid and Ainun, and mixing around with the company of the scholars and everything, and it's a totally different world from me.
Yeah. I mean, interesting when you talk about rock bottom pain. Then you say about Sout Ilaahi companionship, and then the Sheikh, because Sout Ilaahi always organize event with the Sheikh. How do you reconcile with that? Because people will keep looking at, am I good enough or not? So how you look at yourself in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was really tough. I mean, honestly, I can tell you all the truth that I do not know anything about our deen. I was just happy and contented with my life, like I was jamming and I was performing, in fact, since I was 13 years old. And that was my life, that was contentment for me, just going jamming a few weeks, then playing a show, every now and then, going for tours, And that was it for like since 13 till I was like 33. My last gig was at when I was 33. And I'm not sure how it happened, but I started to my mental health started to dwindle, and I started to break down, and I couldn't perform anymore because not sure why, but like I always had anxiety when I reached the stage, no matter how many years I've been performing. So then I realized maybe I'm just doing something that I just can't do anymore, like, I mean, right now I understand why is it, like, because, the soul is seeking something else, in that state. And only now I know this, but at that point of time I was very confused. So my journey was that I was diagnosed with panic disorder, and that's where I reconciled with my friend here, Khalid. Yeah,
By the grace of God, I met Kismet. I think it was 2013, right?
I think 12 or
13, 12 or 13 at the MRT.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that we only exchanged Facebook, and then we never spoke about anything. We never spoke to each other. Like, he would just push me Sout Ilaahi stuff. And then after that, I remember one day, I do not know why I wanted to reach out to him, because I was having a panic attack, and no one was helping me. And I said, I think I messaged him, Khalid, I never told you this before, but I'm having a panic attack now. What should I do? And then he gave me, through Facebook Messenger, he gave me Selawat Fatih. So obviously I wasn't even practicing then. You give me selawat, I don't even know what selawat is. But in my desperation, of course, I just jumped at it. I just started reciting the Selawat Fatih. Just kept reciting and reciting and reciting, and that became like the thing that I would go to every time I got panic attack. And somehow it managed to calm my heart. Not even the Xanax you give me could do that. So Alhamdulillah, then I was interested. I was interested to know, like, what is this? What is this selawat? And this is blessings upon Rasulullah SAW, but who is Rasulullah SAW? I didn't even know this. I was just, trying to istiqamah with my Selawat Fatih. And then as I did more and more and more every day, that's when I wanted to start practicing my 5 times daily prayer. And then I realized there's something in it, and then I asked Khalid, can you give me some more of this? Where is this coming from? This is, this is good for me. Can you give me some? And like, he gave me half the wirid of the wirid of the Tijani Tariqah, and I didn't know anything then. I just did it, and back then there was no PDF, no nothing. So it was all like handwritten or something, and then I did everything like the number and all that was wrong, but like I just did it, and that became my go-to every after Maghrib. I would sit myself down and make sure that I finish it. I wasn't even in the Tariqah yet, and gradually, of course, I mean, I don't even know anything. I don't even know what a Sufi path is, everything. But Alhamdulillah, like, Allah bless my path in this manner, in the sense that I do not have any spiritual baggage, because if I knew more of spirituality, I think I would be questioning myself more than doing,
It's like, am I doing the right way? Am I being perfect?
Yeah.
If I have enough knowledge, that's what you meant?
Yeah. So coming back to your question, right? So here's a girl who doesn't know anything, and in the eyes of like society, right? Society always wants ideal things. Had things to happen nicely, like, oh, take me into this tariqah, let me take bayah, take me into this caravan of volunteers, where everything is just perfect. But no, I mean, my story is the worst of it all. I don't even know anything. I don't even know, why is it so important to send salawat upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So my journey started off with no ideals at all, imperfections, total imperfections, and that is how Allah wanted it to be. And I realize now, looking at everyone's journey is really unique, and I think that is the blessing and the mercy from Him, because He knows us more than He knows us. He created us, so He knows, okay, this way is good for Kismet. This way is good for Herzy, And yeah, alhamdulillah, things are not smooth sailing. I mean, the path that you take on is very treacherous. It's like sailing in the ocean. Sometimes it's good weather, sometimes it's bad weather, but you just hang on to it because you realize that, hey, I've already been in this, and I've been already gifted this by this realization by Allah, and I will want to carry on with it till whenever. Yeah.
Interesting, Michelle. How about you, Herzy? Everybody is looking for perfection, and Kismet was sharing with us about her journey. It's like, no, it's not going to be perfect. It's not an idealistic way, and sort of like she stumbled upon God guidance. It's Allah's mercy anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you relate then when people say that I need to be perfect? I have to be perfect. And you have your own shortcoming, your own pain, your own baggage, I would say, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
That's the key word, right?
Sure. Yes.
So in your own experience, for the people out there, because people always want to hear like, okay, this person, they know knowledge already, so they know how to walk.
Yeah.
But people like us, we are broken, and we want to know where we are walking. Right?
Yeah. I think thank you so much for, especially Kismet, for sharing your experience with us. I can definitely resonate with some of the things that you mentioned. I think for me, again, growing up, obviously we wasn't easy. I started, trying to fit myself into, like a normal school system, and being a guy. Of course, you have certain expectation by friends, by your family, and so forth. And so I know that I don't fit into all those boxes. I have a liking for things that are more literature based, and people expect you to excel in certain other areas that you're not so good at. So I can relate to those things, and especially if, again, I'm just being very open about this. I know that I don't have a very tough exterior. People would see me like soft and all that. So it was really hard in school, especially because then people look at you as, okay, this is somebody I can definitely take advantage of.
Bully, you mean?
Yeah, bully. If there's a stronger word for that, yes, it's bully. So I struggle with that for sure. And at the time, I try to live with it. I'm not sure how much I internalized all that trauma, but of course, I'm sure at some point it took a toll on me. But there is also at the same time a saving grace where it allowed me to be more close to certain group of people that I can relate to. And then at the same time, I know that what I like was really it has to do a lot with like public speaking and talking. So I think that's my go-to. And I know I spend a lot of time in library reading, and so that became my saving grace, if you want to call it that. So with that comes the part where you start to seek visible alternatives, as I call it, to see that, okay, there's something for me. You're not totally like outcast. So reading was just something I enjoy doing. But then it was never, or at least it didn't appear to me that, this was the step to success, because, how I think as society we define success is that we must be everything. You cannot be just one thing.
You must be looked upon.
Yeah, look upon.
Praised.
Like you must be good in this and that and that, and it speaks so much in our society. I mean, I do apologize to say this, but let's face the fact. Like, it's either you're good or you're not good. That's it. You know,
it's a hurtful feeling. I went through that also.
Yeah. So and yeah, and I've we've been talking about it, and also with Kismet as well. I share some of my personal struggle with her as well. So we've all had our little ups and downs, and trial and tribulation. So it's so when you look at all these definition that is societally driven towards you, it's very hard, because then you are actually trying to swim against the systemic tide, because
Oceans, waves.
and it's a structure. It's a big, gargantuan structure that you are basically David, and that system is Goliath.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
If we
yeah.
have to go to that direction,
Yeah.
we're like David, and that's Goliath. And people don't see that. People see this as a form of like a chink in the armor. Something is wrong with you. You need to fix that. But again, as I started to get acquainted to you, and this is so it's so coincidental, because I got to know you when I was going for my Umrah trip, and this was like 6 years ago. Which again, Umrah for me was like, at that time when considering the state of my being, I wasn't even like prepared for such a journey. And there I was, like at the airport, and you were there, and my brother, and I remember this, that my brother casually introduced to you.
Yeah.
And then I started talking to you, and then we had our conversation exchange, and you were telling me things that I'm like, oh my God, like, about what you guys do, about the topics that you guys normally deal or speak about during your
Sacred Part of Love.
Sacred Part of Love. And I was looking at my brother with this judgmental eyes, and I was like, Nazrin, like, you didn't tell me about this, because he told me like he's just volunteering a religious group, and it's just basically being in this ZK circle. So I thought, like, okay, it's probably just one of those, circle that you go to a mosque and then you just ZK for like an hour or so, and that's it. But the things that you guys do at that point, when you informed me, that was amazing. Like, to me, I would want to be in this group at least. Like, in some ways, I need to find myself like trying to fit in. Again, the word fit in, right? So you see how it kind of drills into us. And so when I started to know more about what Sout Ilaahi does, I became a bit more cognizant about the the overriding mental pressure and societal pressure that we as a community, especially for like Malay Muslim, I guess I can speak for other racial group, but more so for us, like how systemic and how deeply rooted in terms of how we define success to materialism. I mean, yes, we all have to, we have to all put on our bootstrap and really try to make things work. But I guess this is all about the journey, and I think we are so much focused in terms of the destination that we forgot to enjoy the journey as it comes. And one of the things that I think Sout Ilaahi did for me was that it gave me a sense of clarity towards understanding that journey. And like what Kismet was saying just a while ago, that everybody's journey is different. And, sometimes your ups and downs, or especially your tribulation that you face, is a blessing. And I think we need to see, or I think the more important word to recognize here is to reframe our lens to think that good or bad, it all comes from Allah. And as part of being Muslim, our main anthem is to submit, to His will. I think in that sense that I felt like that's something that has been like slowly been taken away from our spirituality in embracing our faith. Yeah.
You have to closer.
Okay.
No, closer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Kismet was talking about pain, right? And you're talking about embracing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But I want to stick with you first before I go to Kismet. Herzy.
Oh, okay.
This is like whoa.
Let's bring it there.
So, so do you think that embracing is something that not many people want? Like you have to have courage, you have to have like immunity, and maybe kind of resilience.
Yeah.
But how do you see it through your journey from where you are today? The coping system that you have. Because people always like what you say, like everybody's like, I have to be the same.
Yeah.
We have to be like everyone else.
Yeah.
If not, we are not considered as successful, whether dunia or akhirah.
Yeah.
But you look at yourself and you are someone who's into poetry, Sufism. How do you see it? You carrying yourself then through the ups and downs. Of course, they struggle, right?
Yeah.
The fall.
Yeah, for sure. I think your life experience is meant to be in such a way that you'll go through a series again of ups and downs. And I think it is important to recognize these ups and downs as part of that journey, and it shouldn't be judged or it shouldn't be thrown upon. I think a lot of people tend to be fearful of, going through or hitting bottom, like what Kismet actually addressed a while ago. So I think because if not for all these things, we wouldn't be where we are. I mean, of course, again, when I say this, it's so easy to say, like now I'm talking to you, oh, all the good things you want to hear from me, right? And then saying so nicely and so, in such a buttery way. But it's true, like we can say it so easily, but then when it comes to us facing tribulations, we tend to kind of lose track. Sometimes we also tend to, think that, God is not hearing me out. But what I learned through, your infinite wisdom and also through Sout Ilaahi, this is part of what it means to submit. Because if, again, the stories of our prophets, you tell me which prophet has an easy life. And they are prophets. I'll just stop right there. Let that kind of sink in. They are prophets and they hadn't had an easy life. What makes you think that you, just being us, would be like, oh, wow, we have a primrose path that's already laid down for us? So I think it is important to recognize that. And of course, it doesn't happen overnight to feel that, oh, wow, I did a 360-degree change. It's going to take gradual. You're going to fall, you're going to rise, you're going to fall, you're going to rise, And it's part of that nature of how we are as human beings, but I think the focus is that is to keep on going, and that if you're in the right companion, which is also another topic that I feel is important, when you're in the right company, a company that knows beyond just the lens of materialism, that's when you have that, that's when you're blessed. And I'm blessed to know you guys as part of that caravan. And yeah, ever since then, it has really allowed me to reframe things in a different way. And I'm more capable now to kind of take the good and the bad. And I understand that this is all part of His will and His plan. Yeah, it's a slow process, and I'm still learning. I'm not saying that, I've gained mastery. And I think a lot of people like to have that, oh, I've gained mastery over it. But no, you're always constantly learning. Yeah.
And that's why life is a journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you always will face, not say will always, but will face changes or different adaptation to the circumstances that you are in. Remember, Shaykh Ibn Atta'illah said that as long as you live in this world, do not be surprised with the trials and tribulation, because it's dunya, right? So, Kismet, when it comes to pain, and you mentioned about you manage to detach or moving forward, embracing pain itself, does it mean that you're a stronger person for you to be closer to Allah? Or it is a part of your journey in submitting to Allah, that you say, okay, Allah, I'm weak. I know I'm weak. I know that I like what Herzy said, I'm going to fall and I will fall, but I know your mercy is greater than everything else. So how do you look into it? Because there are so many people out there who always want it to be like, this is the way, this is how I should be outwardly, have knowledge, have will, have this, have that. Then how about you looking at it in your own journey, in your own brokenness?
I think, sorry, coming from like my background, I was like mentioning that I do not know anything, right, about spiritual paths and everything. So when I came into this journey, right, it's like a free fall, because you don't know anything, so you just free fall into it. And then I meet, various people from all walks of lives, some who have already been in spiritual paths for many, many years. And, like I observe them, and, I observe all these different characters and the scene, the spiritual scene, or what you call it, instead of the music scene, right? So I guess, like, coming to your question about embracing pain, right? Because I free fall into this path, I think to me my journey is just exploring. Like I've just set myself on this, like how I first chanced upon the Salat Fateh with you, and then after that we grew, to the Wirids. So every other point is a discovery, and I feel that it's really like having an intimate dialogue or relationship with Allah, because as I go on in the path, I get to know a bit more of myself. I do not know how to explain this, but like I feel like, okay, Allah is telling you, this is who you are, like this is who you are. You take it or leave it. If you leave it, means you're gonna run away. If you take it, means you're gonna dive deep into it, get to know yourself, and confront your demons. Confront the past that made you this way in certain aspects. And I guess because my journey started as that, and I was just taking everything in, like discovering myself and everything. And like when we think about the spiritual highs, right? Like, I'm sure everyone wants that ideal journey in their spiritual life, like in their spiritual path, like experiencing the highs of,
The hal.
the hal, like the stations and everything. But really, how are you gonna get there if there is no pain? For you to feel any pain at all, for you to be in discomfort. I think Rumi has this, how will you not be polished if you can't be rubbed or something like that? So
You're talking to a poet here. The poet.
so interesting, because I was actually doing a bit of a piece, a poem, and I think when you mention about pain, one of the things that if you look at like an alchemist, how do you alchemize pain, or like how transform it into something like a gold? So I think pain is it's an ingredient that's necessary to alchemize our hearts, because if not, then we would live in a world where we're just ruled by convenience and comfort, and whatever that is less of that, it's very hard for us then to accept.
yeah.
Then we become belligerent to it, because we didn't go through hardship. Let's take it into a very current account. Like, we all talk about how the Palestinians are suffering. Yeah, because they're going through a lot, and they know, like, this is part of life. But in Singapore, I'm also part of the community. We're so comforted by what we have. Like, the basic needs, we already have it. Like, some people don't have that. So, and I'm not here to compare, but just take a look. Like, has convenience and comfort bring some sense of elevation to you? I think that's the question you need to really ask.
Yeah, but I think also at the same time also we cannot generalize, like, because some people, their pain is abuse,
Oh yeah, sure.
trauma. So it's two different things. But of course, we are not generalizing it to a point where, what's your advice for people who went through abuse yourself? I mean, your own experience in seeing people.
I think really we can't we can't run away from ourselves. We can't run away from our past. I mean, it's about. I mean, we always fool ourselves. We run away from it. We fool ourselves and thinking that it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay lah. It's not so bad. Yeah, I was abused. Blah blah blah. No, it's not gonna surface in anywhere in my life, but it will. And especially, if you're about to have a partner, like to get married or something, like when you start having intimate feelings all together for someone is when you actually start to see all the so-called effects of your abuse surfacing, your anxiety, your avoidance, all your attachment styles, and this is when you realize, hey, why am I like this? Why am I acting this way? So I think in terms of abuse, like the past, in just like spirituality in the journey where, you can't look back. You can't, because you can't fool yourself. There's only Allah, right? And, you're speaking to Him through your pain. And in how I reconcile spiritually about abuse is, in terms of forgiveness, like a lot of people who are abused, they do not want to forgive their abusers, or they can't forgive their abusers, and that's fine. But when you come full circle, like for me, like in my situation uniquely, I feel that because I understand that the people who have done me wrong have led a certain lives as well, and were trapped in their own cycles and couldn't get out of it, and they didn't know they were even acting wrong. So here I am, I'm granted this opportunity, by Allah, to rectify myself, and this is how I know that, okay, so I'm in this cycle,
So do you let it go?
No, you have to confront it head front.
Yeah, but what I sense is you have to confront it, but at the same time also, at certain journey or a certain level of that realization, you tend to let it go. Let it go means like that it's beyond you to control.
Oh yes, definitely. We can only do so much. We acknowledge the fact, okay, this happened to us, and then we seek help, go for therapy, try to do, so that you can like calibrate yourself, think, feel and do as, not as before, when you are still in your patterns of abuse. That's as much as you can do.
And that's interesting because we all know that people, this nafs, and I do not know whether how many people understand nafs unless you really into Islamic spirituality. The nafs is always there to empower you lah, macam deceive you or trying to meddle with you, right? So it makes you feel like worthless, and that's why people like saying like, oh, I taubat but not good enough because I still keep the same mistake again. Or people turn to drugs, smoke, alcohol. And this is where sometimes society don't understand the layer. That's why we somehow divert into like abuse suddenly, because people don't see, because we are using our experience for other people's experience, right? Yeah. So in that kind of situation, like coping mechanism, resilience, there is confronting and there is letting go, isn't it?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. So your kind of advice for people who keep on doing ibadah but they still feel that they are not good enough, and could be their past baggage, trauma, and also social media, right? Social media today is like, wow, today you are in For example, you are in Medina, that means you are closer to the Prophet. Then another 10 days you are at home, then you feel like, oh, I'm not closer to the Prophet anymore. But then, you know that when you salawat upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your take on that, on perception and expectation then.
I feel generally, maybe I do not know whether it's this part of the world, Singapore, where we impose a lot of expectations, heavy expectations on ourselves, because I see our counterparts around Southeast Asia, they're much more relaxed, I'm not sure if it's a lifestyle thing, that influences
Possibly,
to be the best and everything. But really, I mean, when that thought comes, like, I'm not doing enough, question yourself that doing enough, you're not doing enough for who? Are you doing this for Allah? If you're doing this for Allah, Allah is there watching you, feeling you, knowing you already. And what is this, You get what I mean? Like, it's silly that you're questioning, I'm not doing enough. But then you are already thinking of Allah and you're wanting to do this for Allah. So you're doing already. So what is question? Where is this coming from? Where is my expectation coming from? Is it from a past or is it from something else, And why does it even exist?
For you yourself, how you cope with it?
Of course, it was difficult for me.
Is it the companionship that helps you?
Yeah, it was the companionship, exactly. I mean, my self-esteem coming into a traditional circle is definitely not there because they're so different, like I didn't have the proper adab. I didn't know the proper adab, to everything at all, right? So, and of course, like when you're amongst other people who, you don't dress alike as them, the self-esteem is always there. But I think I grew through companionship because my companions accepted me for who I was. And that felt very welcoming.
Is it Ainun?
Ainun was still Undertaker back then.
Not now.
No, now she's more smiley. But like, I think, like, yes, you yourself, Ainun, like my confidants, and like the crew at Sout Ilaahi, like, because we're also diverse, like we all came from different backgrounds, and I guess that's why there's more acceptance for individuality and like the diversity lah, So I think we grew together as it is, and I guess that's how it happened.
Yeah, Herzy, for you, how you look at it then, to move forward in your life? Because people, like what you said, that people always look at outwardly. Like, oh, I go to the mosque, that means I'm already good enough. Oh, I do tahajjud every day, I'm good enough. Oh, I go hajj, I'm good enough. But not every day we are at that kind of situation where we are at that ideal places or moment, right?
Yeah.
So for you yourself, how you see it, and what's your advice for people?
I think just to sort of re-echo on to what Kismet was mentioning just now, like, we question ourselves, like, I'm not good enough, like I'm doing my ibadah, or I'm doing my salat, but it's still not good enough. I think there is a need to ask ourselves, and I guess this is where you also have informed us about unpacking, that you need to ask, who is this enough for? Like, is it for somebody in your life? Because it also comes through certain baggage that you carry. And I think we need to kind of, when you say confront, it's not so much about, fighting head on, but it's more, the first step is to acknowledge and to accept and to identify. I believe it's two things: identify and to acknowledge that who are we trying to be enough for. I think that's an important question, because then from there, there's this sense of release to know, are we doing it for ourselves, or doing it for Allah, or doing it for some people who have been, who in their eyes, we will never be good enough for them. So I think if we can start with that, it's already a good small step to begin with. And of course, you will have days that are definitely like rock bottom or just one of those low days. But start with something that you can do, like it could be the most simplest thing that you've always been doing, but maybe you just, taken it for granted. Start with that because it's funny that you're talking about this because I was just with a client this morning when I was training her. And I was saying, like, how do you carry through each day, knowing that some days are like, you have your down days. And she was telling me, and she's a non-Muslim, free thinker. I say, you just need to start with something that you can do, not according to people's standard, but according to what you can do, and start with that. And later on, you might find it surprising to know that after achieving this one thing, you start to see that you can actually do more. And that's when that little good element of surprise, in a good sense, comes in to see that, oh, you know what, I can actually take a few more steps forward. I think it begins with that. Again, it's a fairy tale to say that it's an overnight achievement, but small step does help to break a habit.
Yeah, you become istiqamah lah slowly, right?
Yeah. Because all of these things that we're telling ourselves we're not good enough, it has become a habitual thing. And we need to kind of break that cycle.
Do you think social media affect our life? Like we
for
think
sure.
that we need to be perfect?
That is one apocalyptic trumpet.
Not drug.
No, I think it's just a loudspeaker that is just magnifying things to a whole other level. Yeah. I mean, when did you ever get to see social media depicting people who are like, oh, look at me, I'm so broken? None. If I were to see one, if I can be proven one social media posting that shows like, oh, how broken I am, okay, like I like to see that, Yeah. But it's all like shining, all like effulgence. Oh, look at me. Like, okay.
Yeah, so how you deal with it then? Okay, Kismet, how you deal with it? Like, am I not good enough for Allah? People, we can say to people, because people can reject us, right? Like, honey, she like a girl, then the girl don't like him, they say, oh, I'm not good enough for the girl. But this, you're talking to Allah, like what both of you saying. Who are you doing it for? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, what is the key to this, to you first?
I think, again, in terms of spirituality, it's good to also, take this moment to learn about this, the Allah attributes, because, I know that you mentioned this in one of the classes, that it's important to know, we've so used to the lens of materialism and people based that we forget that when we step into the realm of Allah, it's a different whole realm together. And knowing Allah, knowing His attributes, you are as you are, come as you are. In fact, they say that, right? So I think we need to reda that it's one step at a time. Whether it's good or bad, you're taking that effort, because again, he won't change the condition of the ummah unless we make that change ourselves. So it's the first step, and I think it's really important. And of course, being surrounded by good companions, as you always emphasize, this is also another thing to start to look at who are the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. Yeah, because environment also plays an important role, and I think that's really important.
Kismet, getting back to you, I think you joined Sout Ilaahi 2015. You first came to the event, if I'm not wrong, 2013, Sekar Pablo, right? So through that 13 now, or 11 years. So the 11 years journey is not a joke. It's not a joke journey, right? So there are a lot of struggle, anxiety, pain.
Yeah.
I mean, besides companionship, having that companionship, how do you convince your heart? So how do all these young people, or even adults, they want to turn, they think that they are not good enough. how do you perceive that? Like, what's your advice? Like, how do you cope with it?
I have no good words. I can only say the truth. But then again, for you guys seeking out, right? My truth is, I mean, look at my path. It was by society, maybe, it was not ideal. It was horrible. I was in so much pain, I mean, yeah, it could be a movie, a script, being like, torn away from life, and then you fall down and you find God and stuff. So it has to happen that way, There's no shining light for you, lighted path, to lead you without pain, without feeling anything, without feeling any discomfort at all. And I think I've mentioned this many times in this podcast about feeling pain and discomfort, because I mean, you will never be able to establish anything when you're in so much comfort. And I feel, this is when I tell you, Khalid, I'm in pain, I'm heartbroken, can you feel my pain?
No.
You can't feel my pain, right? The only one who's feeling my pain is me, right? The only one who's feeling that my heart is breaking is me, right? But who else is feeling that with me? Allah.
Right.
Because He put that pain there. Yeah. So, and that's why I feel that discomfort is the way to go. I mean, that being said, don't get yourself abused and stuff, but I mean, there's no ideal way, because everyone's life is unique. Your background is unique. You can't compare it to anyone else.
Yeah, like, some people, they feel like, I wish I could have been religious inclined since I was a kid, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, but where would have gotten you? You will never know. If you're religious since a kid, and then maybe you wanted some fun when you're 18, and then where would then you be led? So, it's pointless to have all these kind of ideals, because like Allah knows you in and out. And of course the path, it wouldn't be so smooth, and like you will just journey through it. And I mean, for me, after like many years of Sout Ilaahi, right? I think you know there was a point of time that I was sick. I was constantly sick. I was like hospitalized every year. I had operations every year. And then I reflected, because at that point of time I hit rock bottom again, and I asked myself this question, am I not doing good enough? Come on, man, Kismet, you've been working, like you're working full time, you're doing Sout Ilaahi, and then you're falling sick, this is a sign that you have to pay attention to, I mean, it happens as well, like maybe I was too excited, so that happened, and I start to question, okay, where is this coming from? Where's all these illnesses coming from? Then I realized it's been the years of neglect, because I've been my coping mechanism was to just work, put my mind on stuff. Right. There wasn't any me time or anything. But when you find out your coping mechanisms, then again, your dialogue with Allah starts, and then you start to unravel again and again and again. So I feel that no matter when, like it's been 11 years, right? I've hit many junctions with a crash, crashing into another car, and then after that, I'm repaired, and then I go off again, and then I hit rock bottom again. But it's beautiful because you get to know yourself, and you get to know Allah and His attributes. Like I feel that recently the attribute that really stuck to me was His mercy. Because His mercy comes in various forms. Like some people only see good things happening and seeing Allah's mercy in that. But, when bad things happen, there's mercy in that too. It ripples. It's a ripple effect. Yeah. We don't see, but Allah is really the most merciful. Yeah. So I'll just go with that. When you think that, like I'm not good enough for God, get to know His attributes and know that He is really the real of all the attributes.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Herzy, coming to you, we're coming to the end of the podcast. MashaAllah, we didn't realize it's going to be an hour. And what is your we do not know how long we live our life. We do not know you know, what we're gonna do. And people, like what you said that before, like we always look at it like it's a destination.
Yeah.
But if you realize it that when you are traveling to Allah, it's not a destination.
Sure. Yeah.
Because Allah is ongoing. You know, that the journey ongoing until we die. So how do you look at it, and how you build that confidence, that realization, and that hope for Allah?
This is so interesting because I'm, you know, as you're posing that question, I know I have also been posing that question to myself. But I think one thing that it strike a chord to me is that, and I think you've also mentioned this, the fact that you wake up every morning and you can still do your prayers and even express a dua for yourself, it's already a blessing. And those are just signs that I think we tend to neglect, or because, you know, it looks so simple that we didn't even realize that this is one of Allah's subtle signs that He's still, you know, He's guiding us, or He loves us, as you know, but it's just that we have a different expectation. And I think this is where we need to sort of like break that barrier or break that wall, because the way He works, again, it's so unique, it's so individual, it's so unique to everyone, because everybody's, you know, so unique as well. So I think taking that step of the things that you can do on a daily basis is one way to recognize that, you know, He is in your heart, and He's also looking at you. Again, going back to the attributes that, you know, that we've learned. So this is definitely one step I can, you know, probably say for myself. Again, this is just something that also that works for me. But again, if it speaks to other people out there, then yeah.
Inshallah. How about you, Kismet? Before we end this podcast, what's your advice for people who keep thinking that they are not good enough, or they are afraid to deal with whatever situation they are in?
I would just say to just let go and let God, really. Even if you find yourself in the worst situation, in the worst sin, you know, just come back, you know. And there's, in Allah's, if I may say this, I mean, we are all His servants. We wish to be His servants, and, you know, we strive for that. And, you know, there's always forgiveness, and He's always merciful, and there's always tawbah, you know. And there's no point in saying and keep repeating to yourself, no, I'm never good enough, I'm never good enough. Just do 2 raka'at tawbah, you know, see how that feels for you, you know, and move on from there. You know, just keep doing that.
And keep doing it every day if you can. And that is, and then you realize like, subhanallah, it's amazing. Like, I do every day. It's just like last day, like, I do istighfar every day. I do zikir every day. Like, I do like.
It becomes your wirid, you know, instead of your wirid is, no, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. So, let's change our wirid.
It's one step at a time.
And it reminds me what Imam Daw used to say, like, some people say that, Shaykh, I'm not progressing in the spiritual path. And the Shaykh said that, isn't that you should be thankful that you zikir to Allah every day? Remembering Allah is the ultimate aim, is the ultimate goal, you know? And I think this is where people don't really understand. And what I take from both of you is about the journey to Allah is to recognize our own faults, our slavehood to Allah. And it's beautiful when Kismet and Herzy was talking about how the salawat or the Prophet ﷺ, how the zikir, and at the same time, helps you, but at the same time also to unpack yourself. You go for therapy if you can, go for counseling if you can, go for all this, because we are human beings. And these are the things that hold us back from thinking that I'm not good enough for Allah. I'm not. So it's our nafs and shaitan. Right? So alhamdulillah, I thank both of you for today's episode. And mashallah, I hope that Allah put barakah in this, and people who listen, to all of you listener who listen to this podcast. I hope you benefit, and we can share the blessing together. And we are not going to be perfect. Allah is the one who is perfect, and we keep turning to Him because He wants us to have Him only. And may Allah give us Allah, like Syekh Ibrahim Nias doa. And with this, I end this podcast episode today. We thank Kismet and Herzy and all those who are listening to us. May Allah bless you. May Allah accept our tawbah and ibadah. May Allah make us reach Sha'ban and Ramadan. See you again in the next episode. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you.